You already know the feeling. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly your heart is pounding. Your hands grip the wheel. Words form in your mouth that you'd never say in front of your children. A coworker makes a comment. Passive-aggressive. Dismissive. And you spend the next 3 hours replaying it in your mind, composing responses you'll never deliver, letting them live rent-free in your head. Your phone dies. The line is longer than expected. Someone chews too loudly. The internet stranger is wrong. And just like that, your peace is gone. Handed over willingly to something that won't matter tomorrow. Something that doesn't deserve a single second of your attention. Something so small that you'll struggle to remember it next week. But right now, in this moment, it feels enormous. It feels like it matters. It feels like you have no choice but to react. Tonight, we're going to explore a different way. 2,000 years ago, in ancient Rome and Greece, a group of philosophers faced the same frustrations you face today. Rude people. Unfair situations. Things that simply should not be the way they are. They were called the Stoics. And they discovered something that changed everything. Your peace, they realized, is not taken from you. It is given away. Every time you react to something that doesn't matter, you are handing over something precious to something worthless. You are making an exchange where you always lose. The rude driver didn't steal your calm. You gave it to them. The dismissive coworker didn't take your peace. You surrendered it willingly. The minor inconvenience didn't ruin your day. You let it. This isn't blame. This is freedom. Because if your peace can be given away, it can also be kept. If you are the one who surrenders it, you are also the one who can protect it. Tonight, we walk with the ancient Stoics through their hard-won wisdom on anger, frustration, and the 1,000 small invasions that try to steal your calm every day. This is not about suppressing your emotions. This is not about pretending nothing bothers you. This is about learning what your peace is worth and refusing to sell it cheap. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world. As Roman emperor, he commanded legions. He controlled an empire stretching from Britain to Mesopotamia. His word was law. His decisions shaped the lives of millions. And yet, in his private journal, a journal he never intended anyone to read, he wrote about the same frustrations you experience. Difficult people, annoying interruptions, those who would not listen, those who took more than they gave, those who criticized unfairly. When you wake up in the morning, he wrote to himself, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This was an emperor writing 2,000 years ago about the exact same human frustrations we face today. But Marcus didn't stop there. He continued, They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. This is the Stoic insight. Other people will be difficult. This is certain. This is guaranteed. This is as predictable as the sunrise. The only question is, what will you do with your own mind when they are? Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, put it even more directly. He had been born a slave. He had suffered abuse that few of us can imagine. His leg was deliberately broken by his master and never properly healed. And yet Epictetus taught that no external event can truly harm you. Only your judgment of the event can do that. It is not things that disturb us, he wrote, but our judgments about things. The traffic jam is not the problem. Your judgment that it shouldn't exist is the problem. The rude comment is not the issue. Your decision to take offense is the issue. The minor inconvenience is not what ruins your day. Your choice to let it ruin your day is what ruins your day. Seneca, advisor to emperors and one of the wealthiest men in Rome, agreed. He wrote entire books on anger, its causes, its costs, its cures. The greatest remedy for anger is delay, Seneca wrote. Delay. Not suppression. Not denial. Just delay. Wait before you react. Pause before you respond. Let a moment pass before you give your peace away. This brings us to our first practice, the foundation of everything else. The Stoic pause. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a space. Most people never notice this space. Stimulus arrives and reaction follows instantly. Something happens, and they respond without thought. The gap between event and emotion is so small it seems not to exist at all. But the Stoics knew that this gap is everything. In that tiny space, that fraction of a second between provocation and response, lies your entire freedom. Your whole power. Your choice. The Stoic pause is simply the practice of finding that space and living in it. Expanding it. Making it large enough that you can think rather than merely react. Marcus Aurelius described this practice in his Meditations. When something disturbs you, he wrote, do not immediately accept the first impression. Instead, say to it, wait. Let me see what you are and where you come from. Wait. That single word contains the entire practice. When the car cuts you off, wait. When the comment stings, wait. When the frustration rises in your chest, wait. Not forever. Not even for very long. Just long enough to remember that you have a choice. Just long enough to ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. Most of the things that trigger our anger do not deserve our anger. They are too small, too temporary, too ultimately meaningless to be worth the price we pay when we react to them. But we pay that price anyway, because we never pause long enough to realize we don't have to. Seneca observed that anger has a momentum. Once it begins to move, it builds upon itself. One angry thought leads to another. One grievance reminds us of 10 more. Before we know it, we are consumed by a fury that has nothing to do with what actually happened. But this momentum can only build if we let it start. The Stoic pause interrupts the momentum before it begins. It catches the spark before it becomes a fire. It gives us the chance to choose whether we want to be angry rather than letting anger choose for us. This is not about becoming emotionless. The Stoics were not robots. They felt everything we feel. But they practiced meeting each feeling with a question. Is this impression accurate? Is this reaction appropriate? Is this response going to help me or harm me? The pause gives you time to ask these questions. How do you actually practice the Stoic pause? It begins with breath. The next time something provokes you, before you speak, before you act, before you even fully form your response in your mind, take one breath. One slow, deliberate breath. This is not about calming yourself down, though that may happen. This is about creating space, about inserting a moment between stimulus and response, about reminding your body and your mind that you have a choice. During that breath, ask yourself a simple question. Is this worth my peace? Not, is this annoying? Of course it's annoying. Not, should this have happened? Obviously it shouldn't have. But is it worth your peace? Is it worth the next hour of rumination? Is it worth the tension in your shoulders and the knot in your stomach? Is it worth carrying into your evening, your dinner, your sleep? Usually, when you ask this question honestly, the answer is no. The driver who cut you off is already gone. They are not thinking about you. They have forgotten you exist. The only person your anger will affect is you. The comment that stung was probably thoughtless, not malicious. And even if it was malicious, your suffering does nothing to harm the person who spoke it. You are only hurting yourself. The inconvenience is temporary. The frustration, if you let it take root, may not be. Epictetus taught his students to examine their impressions. But because it is outside the sphere of what you can change, to realize that most provocations are not invitations to battle, but invitations to waste your life on things that don't deserve it. One breath, one choice, and it changes everything. There is something else the pause reveals. When you stop long enough to examine your anger, you often find that it is not about what you think it is about. The anger at the traffic is not really about the traffic, the pressure of too many commitments, the wound it brushed against, the exhaustion you haven't acknowledged. Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? This is not about self-blame. When we pause long enough to truly examine our reactions, we often discover that the external trigger was just that, a trigger, in our own fears, in our own unmet needs. And those deeper causes cannot be solved by getting angry at traffic. They cannot be addressed by letting someone live rent-free in your head for hours. It creates space not just to avoid reaction, but to understand yourself. Sometimes, what you discover is that you are tired. Sometimes, what you discover is that you are hurt. None of these discoveries are possible when you react instantly. The pause opens it. Breathe. The Stoic pause creates space. Once you have paused, once you have caught yourself before reacting, you still need to decide how to see what has happened. You still need to choose what it means. Perhaps the most powerful insight the Stoics ever discovered. Of all the ways other people manage to get under our skin, nothing is actually an insult until you accept it as one. The email someone sends is just text on a screen. None of these things have inherent meaning. They only gain that power when you grant it to them. When you agree to take offense, he said, when you dwell on their words and let them disturb you, you have handed them control of your mind. You would fight for your body. This is what happens every time someone's words ruin your day. Every time you let a comment from a stranger on the internet affect your mood, willingly, to people who may not even know they have it. Imagine someone offers you a gift. You can accept the gift, take it home, and let it become yours. Leave it with the giver. An insult works the same way. A negative opinion, an attempt to make you feel small. If you refuse to take the insult, it stays with the person who offered it. Their negativity, not yours. Epictetus told a story about this, calling him names, attacking his character. When the man finished, Epictetus asked, "He had expected a fight. You may offer them, but I am not required to take them." You are not required to take them. This is revolutionary. When you understand this, insults lose their power. But because you no longer feel obligated to react, you become selective. You learn to ask, is there anything useful here, or is this just noise? Sometimes there is something useful. In those cases, you can extract the useful part and discard the rest. Most insults say more about the person speaking than about you, and those you can simply decline. Walk away without picking them up. There is an even deeper level to this practice. Compassion for the person attacking you. When someone is being cruel to you, compassion is the last thing on your mind. When people injure you, ask yourself what good or harm they thought would come of it. Your sense of good and evil may be the same as theirs, in which case you have to excuse them. Or they have different values entirely, in which case they are operating from a distorted view of reality, and they deserve your pity. The person who insults you is suffering. Secure people do not need to tear others down. When someone lashes out at you, you are seeing their pain, their struggle. This doesn't mean you have to tolerate abuse. It doesn't mean you should stay in situations that harm you. You can walk away without carrying their darkness with you. Seneca wrote, "They have pulled you down to their level. You remain yourself. You remain at peace." Not just declining the insult, but understanding the insulter. Let us make this practical. First, if someone who has never met you told you that you were worthless, would you accept it as true? Their opinion would be meaningless because they have no basis for judgment. From the coworker who barely knows you, consider the source. Second, if so, extract the truth. Discard the rest. Third, their accusations are their confessions. What they notice in you is often what they fear in themselves. Not information about you, but about them. Fourth, next year? Most insults have a very short shelf life. Knowing this, why would you give it so much power now? These questions are tools. Let them help you decide whether to accept what is being offered. We have talked about creating space through the pause. Now we come to the foundation beneath both of these practices. The control filter. It is simple to understand and revolutionary to apply. Some things are within our power, and some things are not within our power. Outside our power are our bodies, our reputations, our positions, and all things not our own doing. Everything, according to the Stoics, falls into one of two categories. Things you can control, your choices, your effort. Things you cannot control, other people's opinions, the past, traffic, death. The Stoic insight is this: most of our anger, most of our frustration, most of our suffering comes from wanting things outside our control to be different than they are. We want circumstances to be other than they are. And when it doesn't, when reality refuses to obey our wishes, we become angry, as if frustration could move what refuses to move. It asks a simple question: how does the control filter work in practice? Before you react, you ask, you change what can be changed. You do what is within your power to do. You accept what cannot be changed. You conserve your energy for battles you can actually win. Can you control the traffic? The other cars will move when they move. Your frustration will not clear the road. Your response. Whether you arrive at your destination stressed and furious or calm and centered, only your experience of it changes. Can you control their behavior? They will be who they are. Your mental arguments will not make them see reason. How much energy you give them, whether you let them occupy your thoughts or evict them from your mind. Only your suffering changes. Can you change what happened? It is done. It exists now only in memory. Whether you learn from it, whether you torture yourself with regret or use the lesson and move forward, only your relationship to it can change. It separates what you can influence from what you cannot. Seneca wrote, "From arguing with what has already happened, the control filter ends these futile wars. It points you toward the only place where your effort can make a difference." There is a common misunderstanding about this teaching: submission to whatever happens. This is exactly wrong. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire. Cato fought against tyranny until his death. They worked. They pushed against the obstacles in their path. They directed their energy wisely. They released where they couldn't. The control filter is not about doing less. You cannot control whether you get the job, but you can control how well you prepare for the interview. You cannot control whether someone likes you, but you can control how you treat them. You cannot control the outcome of your effort, but you can control the quality of your effort. This is not passivity. This is energy directed where it can actually accomplish something. Some people think that releasing what you can't control means not caring, but the Stoics cared deeply. Seneca cared about wisdom. What they didn't do was let their caring become torment. They worked without attachment to results. You can care about the interview without being destroyed if you don't get the job. You can work hard for something without letting your entire happiness depend on achieving it. This is mature engagement. The control filter doesn't make you care less. There is another dimension to this teaching. The Stoics notice something about human nature. The minor inconvenience becomes a catastrophe. The trivial slight becomes an unforgivable offense. We magnify our frustrations. And then we wonder why we're exhausted, why every day feels like a battle. Never value anything as profitable that compels you to break your promise, lose your self-respect, hate any man, suspect, curse, act the hypocrite, or desire anything that needs walls or curtains. Desire anything that needs walls or curtains. Things we'd be ashamed to do in the open. How much of your frustration would seem silly if viewed from outside? The practice of seeing your problems from a greater distance, of learning to keep small things small. You decide how big something is. You determine whether today is ruined or merely interrupted. You choose it. Here is a thought experiment the Stoics loved. Every day from birth to death, every triumph and every failure, The traffic jam that feels unbearable right now, how wide is it on the timeline of your life? A dot too small to see? Nothing. A pause between more important things? Almost certainly not. The cosmic perspective. Marcus Aurelius did this constantly. Think of the universal substance, of which you have a very small portion, and of universal time, of which a short and indivisible interval has been assigned to you, and of that which is fixed by destiny, and how small a part of it you are. This is not meant to depress you. When you realize how vast the universe is, your small problems become small. When you realize how interconnected everything is, individual insults and inconveniences lose their sting. The practice of asking, "A year?" They feel urgent now because we are inside them. This doesn't mean nothing matters. Some problems are genuinely large. The point is to distinguish, to save your strength for real challenges and stop spending it on trivialities. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Most of what hurts us heals quickly. Choose the size wisely. How do you practice this in daily life? Will this matter in 10 minutes? 10 years? Be honest with yourself. They won't even matter in 10 minutes. Step outside them and they dissolve. They feel permanent now, but time will pass. You will barely remember this. Compare your problem to real problems. Your feelings are valid. Somewhere, right now, someone is facing a genuine crisis, a devastating loss. Your slow internet, measured against that scale, is what it is. Nothing more. It's meant to calibrate you, to prevent you from treating inconveniences like emergencies. Imagine explaining your anger to your future self. You're calm, happy, at peace. How does it sound? Probably embarrassing. Use that perspective now. See the smallness now, rather than waiting until later. How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself, that it may be just and pure. We create them by paying attention to things that don't deserve attention, by choosing unconsciously to make small things large. Keep small things small. We have talked about pausing before you react, about filtering for what you can control. All of these practices point towards something deeper, a philosophy we might call emotional minimalism. Your peace is a finite resource. Your inner tranquility can be spent or it can be saved. They give away their peace to anyone who asks for it, to the annoying situation, to the endless stream of things that don't matter. They have nothing left. Emotional minimalism is the practice of guarding your peace like the valuable resource it is, of treating your calm as expensive and refusing to sell it cheap. He wrote, "We are not given insufficient peace. We spend it on things that don't deserve it." The Stoics were emotional minimalists. They pursued tranquility. They protected their inner calm with fierce determination. Imagine your peace as water in a well. You have enough to sustain yourself through the day, enough for the things that deserve your energy. But throughout the day, people come to your well, your family, your genuine challenges. The rude driver wants some, the slow line, the broken thing, the thoughtless comment. They all want water from your well. If you give to everyone who asks, you run dry. I will protect this well. Marcus Aurelius described his inner life as a citadel, a place that could be defended against invasion. Retreat into yourself, he wrote. It is the recognition that your inner peace must be guarded, or it will be taken. Every time you spend your peace on the undeserving, you weaken your defenses. The emotional minimalist asks, does this merit the expenditure of my limited calm? And when the answer is no, as it usually is, the gates stay closed. This is not coldness, still loves, They don't let every passing irritation into their heart, but only if you stop wasting it. What does emotional minimalism look like in practice? It looks like not checking your phone first thing in the morning. Every email is a potential disturbance. Most don't. Will winning this argument improve my life? Certain people, certain news stories. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Is this expenditure of my peace necessary?" Usually, the answer is no. Not react, not spend. This is not indifference to the world. It is the recognition that you cannot give to everything. So you must choose carefully what gets your gift. Another aspect of emotional minimalism. If you surround yourself with negativity, you will feel negative. They don't seek out controversy for entertainment. To the streams of information that flow into your consciousness every day, select. Your peace is too valuable to leave unguarded. There is one more practice to explore, perhaps the most rewarding. We have talked about controlling your response, about protecting your peace from invasion. The gap between expectation and reality. They go another way. Frustration. The Stoics identified this pattern clearly. Not effort is good, but attachment. The demand that reality match your expectations. Because reality often refuses to cooperate. Because you can do everything right and still not get what you want. To care about what you're doing without demanding a particular result. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "This is the final practice. Give your best and release the rest." The Stoics used an image to explain this teaching. She trains for years. She perfects her form. When the moment comes to shoot, she does everything in her power. She aims with complete focus, and then the arrow flies. The arrow may hit the target, or the target may move unexpectedly. If the archer has done her best, if her effort was complete, then she can be at peace regardless of where the arrow lands. Whether the shot succeeds depends on factors beyond her control. It is not about not trying. It is not about not caring. But once the effort is made, the attachment releases. The peace remains, whether the arrow flies true or not. He said, "Do everything you can, accept the outcome, preserve your peace." The job interview. Present your best self. Whether they hire you depends on factors you cannot control. Speak honestly. Act with integrity. How the other person responds is not up to you. Pour yourself into the work, and then release. In each case, the pattern is the same. Maximum engagement, then acceptance. This is not resignation. It is the recognition that you can only control what you can control. There is something paradoxical about this teaching. After all, if you don't care whether you succeed, why try hard? When you are attached to outcomes, you are anxious. You second-guess yourself. Attachment makes you worse at what you do. Free to focus entirely on the task. Free to be present with what you're doing, rather than lost in what might happen. The athlete who fears losing plays tight and makes mistakes. The speaker who fears judgment stumbles over words. The lover who fears rejection holds back. Attachment is a weight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We want things to stay a certain way or become a certain way. But change is inevitable. Life is a constant dance of receiving and releasing, gaining and losing, hoping and accepting." They saw it as liberating. If you can accept uncertainty, you can enjoy the journey without fearing the destination. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. The present moment, fully experienced. Not diminished by fear of not getting what you want. Just this effort, the outcome will be what it will be. How do you practice detachment in daily life? Notice where you have a tight grip. Notice where your peace depends on things going a certain way. These are the places where anger is waiting. Second, examine the attachment. What do I actually control here? Elements beyond your reach. Instead of fixating on the outcome, commit to the process. Instead of needing a particular result, need only that your effort be worthy. This shift is subtle but transformative. You still want things, but your peace no longer depends on achieving them. You become solid, stable, grounded in what you can control. Fourth, practice micro-releases throughout the day. You wrote your best words. When you make a request, release it. Whether you receive it depends on factors beyond your control. You gave your effort. Each micro-release is a practice in detachment. Each one builds the habit of engaging fully and then letting go. Demand not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Wanting what happens because it is what happens. Finding peace not in controlling the world, but in harmonizing with it. Before we close, let me give you one final practice. Call it the 30-second protocol. Seconds 1 through 10. Take a breath. This is the Stoic pause. Without this pause, you are a puppet. Seconds 11 through 20. Ask yourself, use it wisely. You have no power here. Accept and move on. Resize. How big is this really? Next week? That the problem that demanded your rage deserves at most a shrug. Filter. 30 seconds. To interrupt the momentum of anger before it becomes a fire. The Stoics didn't have perfect peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote about his frustrations. Epictetus knew that mastery was a lifetime's work. Tools. The 30-second protocol is one such tool. Practical. It will not make you immune to anger, but it will give you a choice. You can pause. You can resize. We have covered much ground tonight. The reframing of insults, which reminds you that nothing is an insult until you accept it. Choosing the size of problems, which keeps small things small. Detachment from outcomes, which frees you from the tyranny of expectation. But beneath all these practices is a single question. What is your peace worth? Let the rude driver have it. Let every small frustration take its share. Guard it like you would guard anything else you value. Be fierce in defending what is yours. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your thoughts are under attack every day by the small frustrations that don't deserve your attention but demand it anyway. The Stoics teach that you can defend yourself, that the quality of your thoughts is ultimately your choice. It requires practice. It requires the daily decision to choose peace over reaction, calm over chaos, freedom over slavery to your impulses. The Stoics proved that, and you can prove it too. Every time you decline an insult, every time you keep a small thing small, you are proving that your peace is worth more than what would take it from you. 2,000 years have passed since Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal by candlelight. Since Seneca wrote letters to his friends about how to live well. Technologies have transformed the world beyond recognition, but the inner landscape remains the same. Anger, difficult people, things that should not be the way they are, and across the centuries, they offer their gift. Not magic, but practical philosophy that can be applied, tested, refined. Seneca wrote, "What temptation resisted? Day by day, small victories accumulating into transformation. You will still get angry sometimes. You will still give your peace away to things that don't deserve it. And with more awareness, each time you practice, you strengthen the habit. Each time you choose peace, peace becomes more natural. Not perfection, but progress. Not immunity to frustration, but growing freedom from its grip. They left markers to help those who follow. What a gift that is. And now, as this night deepens, let me offer you something simpler. You have listened. You have taken in ideas that might change how you move through your days. The practices we discuss don't need to be mastered tonight. They will be there tomorrow when you encounter the traffic, the comment, the inconvenience. No problem to solve, no peace to protect. This breath, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Right now, there is nothing to react to. Let that be enough." It is found also in quiet moments, in the simple act of being without striving. No one needs anything from you right now. The world, for a few hours, will turn without your help. Let your body soften. Let the tension you've been carrying, perhaps without knowing it, begin to release. A new day will come, new opportunities to practice. Tonight is for rest. In these quiet hours, something happens. The heart, given nothing to fear, stops fearing. This is natural. The struggle is not our default state, something that simply is. The rational soul that, when undisturbed, is at peace. All day, that center is buffeted by provocations and pressures. But here, in the quiet hours, it can return to itself. It can only be surrendered from within. To give up your peace for small rewards. But here, in the dark, no invitation comes. The gates can be closed. Tomorrow, the invitations will return. And you will have to choose again and again whether to accept or decline. Now, the choice is easy. Simply by being here, in the quiet, without resistance. Let yourself be still. This is rest. This is what your peace is worth. Sleep is coming. The mind growing quiet. The boundary between waking and dreaming beginning to blur. This is natural. Marcus Aurelius had a practice. What did he do well? What could he do better tomorrow? It was gentle. The examination of a student who wants to learn, not a judge who wants to condemn. Where today did you keep your peace? What might you do differently tomorrow? Don't wrestle with them. There is no grade. There is only the gentle practice of noticing, so that tomorrow you might notice a little sooner. Let the Stoics fade. Let everything we have discussed tonight settle into the background, available when needed, quiet until then. Your breath, the soft darkness around you. Keep it. Let it carry you into sleep. One last thought before sleep takes you, that you are not separate from the world, but part of it. This can sound abstract. When you find your peace, you contribute to the peace of the world. When you refuse to add anger to anger, you break a chain that might have continued indefinitely. What injures the hive injures the bee. What heals the bee heals the hive. So when you practice the Stoic pause, you are not only helping yourself. When you decline an insult, you are not only protecting your peace. When you keep small things small, you are not only conserving your energy. This is the final gift of Stoic practice, that by finding peace, you become a source of peace. Seneca wrote, "When one wave is turbulent, it disturbs its neighbors. And tonight, you are calm. Rest now. Rest knowing that your peace matters, and that by finding it, you give it to others." Tonight we walked with the Stoics. We learned the Stoic pause, which creates the space between stimulus and response where freedom lives. We learned to reframe insults, recognizing that nothing can hurt us without our consent. We learned the control filter, which separates the changeable from the unchangeable and shows us where to direct our energy. We learned to choose the size of our problems, keeping small things small through perspective and proportion. We learned emotional minimalism, the practice of guarding our peace as the precious resource it is. We learned detachment from outcomes, which frees us to engage fully without being destroyed by results we cannot control. And we learned the 30-second protocol, which puts it all together when we need it most. They have been tested by time. Tomorrow you will face frustrations. The rude driver will appear. The small things that shouldn't bother you will try to bother you. You can react, as you always have. Is this worth my peace? Your peace is too valuable. Your inner tranquility is too important to give away for free, to things that don't deserve it. to people who haven't earned it. Guard what matters. And when you fail, because you will, we all do, be gentle with yourself. Try again. The Stoics would want you to sleep well tonight. They would want you to face tomorrow with whatever wisdom you have gathered and to gather more as you go. Rest deeply. Your peace is worth protecting.